for a lot of women to acknowledge that you're afraid of experiencing something that you experienced in the past is like huge. Some people will talk about it and they're like, I'm not dating because I'd rather be single than to experience what I experienced before, right? But you still have the belief that it's possible and very likely that the past will repeat itself, okay? So many times you shoot yourself in the foot by consciously or subconsciously worrying about that you're going to repeat the same pattern. Okay, so you had a relationship that was toxic, you had an abusive relationship, or you went through different partners and you were not satisfied with any of them. But you don't really want to look at that. You don't really want to look at your pattern. Instead, you want to look at what you're seeing. And there are not enough quality people out there. There are not enough quality men, or there are not enough quality women or attractive men or attractive women, right? We look at what we're seeing right now because we don't really want to admit what we're really afraid of. And a lot of us, a lot of women, this is not the case for me anymore, but it was in the past. We don't want to repeat the same patterns again. Like that's the scariest thing. So instead of looking at it, instead of addressing it, we take on this, we'll just say, I'm good. I'm good. I don't know if anybody's going to come along. If they do, I'll be open to it. Hi, Shamika. How are you? But many times you continue to attract the people that you're attracting because you're so afraid of repeating what happened in the past. So you think you're doomed, or you think that this is how it's always going to be, or you think it's because the dating world sucks. You think that something is off out there, but you're not really seeing what's happening, or you're not acknowledging, you're not feeling into what's happening internally. There's so much focus on what other people are doing, what other people have done to you, and the type of people you're attracting, that you don't realize the internal things that are happening inside of you that are blocking you from attracting who you want to attract. Because if you really sat down with yourself and you say, yeah, it's true, I'm really afraid of being in a toxic relationship again. Yes, I am really afraid of being in an abusive relationship again. What needs to happen for me to release that? What has to happen for me to heal that? What has to happen for me to actually be present with that instead of neglecting it? And a lot of people will say, well, are there any honest people out there? Are there any people who don't lie, who don't cheat, who don't do all these things? But deep down, that's not what they're looking for, because if they truly were looking for that, like if they really, really, really deep down were looking for that, they would attract that. And so I talked about it in Self-Carved. I talked about why we attract who we attract. A lot of people's attractions are rooted in their childhoods. What happened in our childhoods, what we got or what we didn't get in our childhoods, why certain people seem more entertaining, why certain people seem boring, why you need to have all the ups and downs of the trauma bonding, like where that really comes from. So you think that it's because of the selection, that because there are not enough good quality people out there, there are not enough people that you would want to be with. But deep down, your inner child and your wounding from childhood is seeking something else, because that's what you learned was love. But the higher version of you, right? The higher version of you doesn't want that. So there is this internal conflict. And at the same time, you attract what you're aligned with, but you don't like it. So then it's like, it's not up to me. This is what I'm seeing. I continue to see it. So there are really two parts. You don't understand why you attract who you attract and how to shift that. And then you also don't fully be and feel and see your fear for what it truly is. So you can do the inner work to release that, to walk with it, to walk through the fire as you're feeling it. And again, I've said this so many times, when it comes to us having to do the inner work, it is going to be the painful part, the painful journey that we have to go through, that requires effort, that requires commitment, that requires us to really feel the process of going through that. And that's not fun. It's not fun. Not in the beginning at least. It gets more fun the more you release, because you're like, oh my gosh, I am making progress, right?